You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dahlia, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I don't know how much I believe in UFOs. I believe that there is. I don't think we are the only people in the universe. I do believe we are the only human race on the planet. But I do believe there is extraterrestrial life. I do believe in that. I just don't know yet what I believe in terms of UFOs. And there's been calls on the government for decades, if not close to a century, to please inform us of what the heck is going on. When we see these now, we don't call them UFOs. We call them unidentified aerial phenomena. And so as opposed to unidentified flying objects, it's unidentified flying phenomena? No, unidentified aerial phenomena. Yeah. All right. So the War Department has finally started to release its first batch. I don't know what I'm looking at. I know these are what have been documented as anomalies. In fact, even from the Apollo missions on the moon, when we landed on the moon in the 60s, 69, I believe, they have pictures from 1969 of UAPs while they were on the moon. I mean, they were getting now they colorized them so we could see them, but it wasn't color obviously then because it was black and white. And so we're starting to now look at these, and I know people over the weekend are going to be hemming and hawing, which actually works really, really well for the Trump administration because they are still kind of in the midst of what's going on with Iran and trying to get them to get them to the table and come up with a deal. And so at least the media can now jump on the UAPs and UFO talk and do that all weekend long while Trump gets to business. So it's not everything, but the War Department released more than 160 files related to the sightings dating back nearly 80 years, they said. This is according to New York Post. According to Trump, he says, or the Pentagon, according to the Pentagon, says the American people can now access the federal government's declassified UAP files instantly. The latest UAP photos, videos, and original source documents from across the entire United States government are all in one place. No clearance required. This is according to the Pentagon. On X, they said, while past administrations sought to discredit or dissuade the American people, President Trump is focused on providing maximum transparency to the public who can ultimately make up their own minds about the information contained in these files. In fact, one thing I've noticed is when the government is stumped, it's amazing how you just open it up to the public and the public comes up with some really interesting things. I mean, look at what happened with medicine. Let patients kind of tell you, look, this is something that's working. I mean, we learn a lot from the non-experts. So included in this trove of data you see objects from Greece, over Greece, Iraq, Japan, the United Arab Emirates, and the United States. These are over decades. They said also released were a trove of intelligence reports and FBI case files that included apparent eyewitness testimony, public reports about possible sightings over the years, some of which came with a note admitting that information had already partially been made public. The files include a transcript from Apollo 17 astronauts reporting very bright particles or fragments or something that go drifting by as we maneuver. They say it looks like the 4th of July out of astronaut Ron Evans' windows. They're very jagged, annular fragments that are tumbling. So you see these 3 dots appearing in a triangular formation above the surface of the moon. Nobody can come up with a consensus on what that is. They say there's also news clippings and apparently UFO sightings dating back to the 1950s. And so, the Pentagon, is doing this as a result of Trump's directive. But this is something that has been requested for a while. And one thing that I think the Trump administration wants to do is have this character or this reputation of transparency where, if the public thinks we're hiding something, we're not. This is what we got. Yeah, this is what we know now. I know many people are like, well, what's going on with Area 51 in Nevada? What's going on there? I don't think we're going to get that yet. And I think they're going to be very, very careful with a highly secured area. They're not going to necessarily, they're releasing things that are necessarily not of classified nature. And I mean, you're not going to get all the ins and outs. I mean, there's levels of security clearances and things like that. You're not going to get that, but they declassify things that they feel, don't necessarily need the classification. These are things that were found. This is what we've accrued. This is the data we have, and take a look at it. We're fine with that. But if things in Area 51 are very highly classified, I don't think we're going to get that. So understand that this is going to be still limited. As a physician, I'm really blown away at what the human body can do, and what from fetus to aging individual who is about to go meet their maker. I am blown away at the biology and the science behind it. But being that there is, not only what we believe in terms of God, or believe in terms of nature, or if we're atheist, however we believe things are done, there's science at its core. There's science there. And so being that we have the cellular micro, we have the micro world that enables humans to be humans, I'm not shocked that we would have that sort of shall we say, life or evolution in other aspects. I understand space, has its own little micro environments, whether it's through Mars or Venus, etc. Do I think there's ever been life on Mars? I know they said they found water and they might have found microorganisms. I don't know. I never want to live on Mars. I really don't like the idea that I have to rely on a building or tent or oxygenation to be somewhere. I wouldn't live underwater. I wouldn't live on Mars. I think it's cool. You could visit Mars, but would I live on Mars or colonize Mars? No, absolutely not. Do I think we're going to get attacked by another species or another alien element? No, I don't. But do I believe that there's other things going on, that there's that there's other entities? I do. Whether these are spaceships or reflections, or is it a part of China's space program? Is it debris? I don't know. But being that what's so though telling is, if the astronauts of the 60s found these things, okay, that was before China, I believe, entered the space war. So 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away. Hi, guys. Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious, such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Dahlia Show, 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So Mother's Day is this, yeah, it's Mother's Day. It's this Sunday. I know. I know. A lot of people forgot. It just, I know. It's already this Sunday. So oftentimes we really screw this holiday up. And, funny thing is Mother's Day is not my favorite holiday. The worst holiday is Valentine's. I think Valentine's is ridiculous. But the, Mother's Day, I never really liked Mother's Day that much. I don't know why. I think it's because, you're reminded of the fact of how crappy a child you are because you're only celebrating your mom once a year. And for many of you, I just get through the segment. I know you guys are trying to scramble to find a place for brunch. You're not going to find a place for brunch already. I'm telling you right now. If you are trying to set up Mother's Day in 2 days, I'm going to tell you right now, just you screwed up already. You're already, sorry, it's done. I'll tell you what to do. Don't worry, I got you. Okay, so as I always say every year how we screw up Father's Day, and I'll remind you guys how not to screw up Father's Day, we screw up Mother's Day. And we screw up Mother's Day by, one, looking panicked. That's why I'm talking about it today on the show. The last thing you want your mom to hear is go, oh, crap. That's this Sunday? Oh, God. Okay, what do you want to do? It's like, how many times I heard my teenage boys go, no. Oh, man. Well, what are we supposed to do? Nothing. You guys don't have to do anything. Okay? You gave me an episiotomy scar. I'm good. Thank you. No, luckily I didn't need an episiotomy. But so with Mother's Day, I really can't stand trying to find a place to eat. The food always stinks because these restaurants are overwhelmed. Everybody's trying to make their mom feel special, and you're standing in line and you're frustrated. And for those of us that had things to do on Sunday, thank God it's not during football. I mean, if Mother's Day fell on football, that would be a big problem. And so, and it's always kind of a rush. And so, what you might want to do is do a Mother's Day weekend. Hear me out. Okay, look, you're gonna like this. Okay, don't go out on Mother's Day. Take her out to dinner today or a brunch tomorrow, and then on the Mother's Day, cook her breakfast at the house, and then you can get the hell out of there. All right. It's going to be a mess trying to find a place. Trying to do something on Mother's Day. There's other things you could do. And the funny thing is what do mothers really, really want on Mother's Day? It's not eggs and bacon. All right. What a mom really, really wants is to feel relevance. We carried you for 9 months or close to it. One of my kids, 8 months, because he just stopped growing. And I'm like, okay, then fine. You know what? If you think you could do better without me, fine, leave. And so we induced and let him go. And he's like, you see, I didn't need you, Mom. I was like, yeah, I know. He's a little bit more independent. But still, I love my boys to death. And so the problem that we moms face is we give birth to you. You need us. You look at us like we're goddesses. You as kids, you're always like, hi, Mom. Where are you, Mom? I need you, Mom. Mom. And then all of a sudden you become teenagers or adults. And then, oh, God, Mom's calling. Or what, Mom? And all of a sudden, as mom, you start to become less relevant. Now, I mean, you were their world. You, Dad, God, nature, whatever you believe. But here you went from you being their whole existence to now, oh, gosh, I got to call my mom. Or Mom, you start becoming less relevant. And moms don't want that. People are like, well, gosh, what do I have to get my mom for a present? Let's get her flowers. Let's get her. And I said, some moms are like, look, I'll take what I could get. They ignore me all year long. So if I could get some attention on one day a year, I'll take what I could get. But me, I don't want you getting me flowers. No offense to the flower companies. You guys are going to be busy. Don't worry, flowers are nice. But for me, the flowers die in a couple days. And I would rather you guys remind me of how I'm still relevant and not a pain in your butt. The big dread and fear we moms have is that we're going to become a burden on you. We go from being everything to you and helping make you to then, oh my gosh, mom's still here. I mean, that's so what should you do to make your mom feel relevant? One is tell her that Mother's Day should not be one day a year. It should be 365 days a year. Number two is tell her, you don't know this, but I appreciate you all the time. I might not say it. I might not get really mushy, but you don't know how much I appreciate what you do. Every time I see, another parent, or every time, I remember something you told me, this is what you did. You did a great job raising me, which by the way, is another thing. When we moms start to get older, we start to fear that we didn't make you ready for this world. In fact, I had a friend who had cancer, and I was talking to his son, and his son said, what do I do? What do I tell my brothers? And I go, tell them, what you do is you guys tell your dad that, look, you made us who we are, and we're ready. You taught us so much, and you really prepared us for the world, and you did your job. You did a damn good job, and we're so much better as a result of you. So same thing, tell your mom that I know I don't say it enough, but so many things you taught me, I now incorporate in my life with my kids. That's so important. Another thing is your parent. Some of you are like, well, gosh, what was my mom good for? Nagging. One thing your mom might be good for is the family tree. Okay. The generations above us know much more about our family than we do. And so if you want to make your mom feel special and relevant, ask her to work on the family tree. Who gave birth to who? Who's related to who? What are the names of these relatives? Because I got to tell you, you can't just rely on Ancestry and me. If somebody doesn't want their DNA or their saliva in somebody's database, you're not going to know about them. And so have them help you with that. Another thing is if there's recipes from the family, say, look, these are things you used to make for me as a kid. I know you might not know the whole recipe, but let me help you make a book on this. Another thing you could do is publish a book with your mom. That's what I did. It's really easy. It's free on Amazon. Publish a book. Say, Mom, you always taught me this. You always taught me this. Let's do this project together. Now, you don't have to do it all on Mother's Day, but when you talk about starting to do that, that's really, really cool to do. But I think cookbooks, things that she taught you, her life story for the grandkids, and say, look, we're not going to publish it to the public, but if you want to make a book that we could give the grandkids and the great grandkids, let's do that together, because your life story is phenomenal. These are things that make mom feel so special. Have her decorate a room of your house. Now, I know a lot of you are like, oh, Dahlia, you got to be on drugs for this one. No. There's got to be a room that you don't really care about. Okay. Let her decorate it. If she's into that, she would love that, because then there's that relevance of her in your house. Or decorate a wall, or come up with like a photo collage or something like that. Have her come with you when you make a major decision, like finding a new place to live. Let's say you're going apartment hunting or home hunting or car hunting. Ask her mom, would you like to come with me? I'd love your opinion. Oh my God, she would love that. Now you got to be careful, because if you're not going to take her opinion, it depends on what she's like. Is she going to be all upset? But if you kind of already know what you want, and you're like, Mom, I really want to make this decision, and she's with you, that could be really, really cool, because now she thinks she helped you make the decision. Now, if you have the type of mom that hijacks all the credit and gives you, I guess, drama all the time. Well, I'm the one that told you to do this and you didn't do this, then forget about that. But if you have a mom that's not very drama-like, that might actually work. Another thing you could do is, let's say she really likes sports. Get her gear for her favorite sports team. I think she'll like that a lot more than flowers. Ask her to make your favorite dish of hers. If there is something that your mom cooked that you really, really loved, ask her, look, not on Mother's Day, but I really would love you to make that for me again. And it brings back good memories of childhood. Oh my God, she would melt. Yeah, she might see through this, but the fact that you're going through the effort. Another thing you could do on Mother's Day is take over her house and just say, you know what? You relax. Anything you need fixed, anything you need done, I'm going to do. I brought home groceries, just anything. Just make her feel pampered. And then this is the biggie, all right? And I know this is the toughest thing, okay? You're going to have to spend time with your mom on days that aren't Mother's Day. I know, I'm sorry. She'll like it. Okay. Lost cause, 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So the Virginia Supreme Court today invalidated the new redistricting that voters approved by about 100,000 votes in Virginia, where the gerrymandering would have taken a 6-5 Democratic majority to a 10-1 Democratic majority of congressional districts. The Virginia Supreme Court said no. We hold that the legislative process employed to advance this proposal violated Article 12, Section 1 of the Constitution of Virginia. This constitutional violation incurably taints the resulting referendum vote and nullifies its legal efficacy. Now, the Virginia Supreme Court heard oral arguments last month over the newly passed congressional map. Voters approved it very narrowly. It was like 51 to 49%, but 100,000 vote margin. And the ballot measure would have given the Democratic-controlled Virginia legislature temporary redistricting power through 2030. Now, most states are supposed to wait until the 2030 census. But now that Illinois had their successful gerrymandering years ago, and then Texas decided, well, you know what, maybe we should do it now. And then now, states are re-looking at their maps going, we can't wait till 2030. We need to do something now, in 2026. And so now there's this big scramble to try to, hijack as many congressional districts as possible to ensure a House win. So the 10-1 advantage for Democrats was huge as opposed to their 6-5 edge, giving them 4 more. But Republicans sued because they said the process was not constitutional. Now, every state has their own constitutional rules and protocols for rewriting congressional districts. One issue that I know was brought up is that in the referendum, they used the term fair. We need to make the congressional districts more fair, suggesting that the current system was not fair. That's very confusing, and it's I think it's also very misleading. And so that was one concern. But it sounded like they didn't even have to go there. It was just the process they used to do this was not legal. Hence, the referendum doesn't. And they spent money on this. You would think they would have. I think they knew, that they had an issue, but they wanted to show everybody that they could get the majority for this. And they probably will try it again, in the 2030 census or whenever their constitution allows them to. But for them to now, I mean, again, they've got the midterms in 6 months. I don't know if they'll be able to follow their constitutional, and I don't know much about Virginia's constitutional verbiage as it concerns congressional redistricting, but this is definitely going to be in the Republicans' favor. And so Virginia Attorney General Jay Jones, a Democrat, lamented the ruling. And he said this put politics over the rule of law. He said the team is evaluating every legal path forward. And so we aren't sure exactly what they're doing. Are they going to try to bring it up to the Supreme Court? So, and the Supreme Court had recently ruled last week that you couldn't use race to choose a congressional district, that you can't discriminate based on race. You have to, again, all men are created equal. You cannot use race as a factor to carve out a district. So now we are seeing, we are seeing a huge, reevaluation of people's of states' current districts, and this ruling by the Supreme Court, now has allowed Louisiana, Alabama, and Tennessee to relook at what their legislators had done in terms of their districts. Now, the Voting Rights Act wants to protect everybody, allowing even minority vote to still have a vote. And so, but on the other end, you cannot have in verbiage that we are you cannot use race, just like with in college admissions, you cannot say we are going to specifically use what you can't do that. That's not, because again, it's all men are created equal. And I know it gets difficult. We're going to be talking about an issue that medical schools are having. But going back to, the congressional redistricting, now there's a frenzy, and now Alabama, Tennessee, Louisiana are looking at, these redistricting efforts based on if those districts were done unconstitutionally based on the Supreme Court. The GOP has a razor-thin House majority. We have been seeing over the last few years that the majorities, it's not resounding as it pertains to the Senate, as it pertains to the House. And so we are talking slim. And so it has been postulated that the Democrats are going to very easily win, because in the midterms, the opposing party, is very highly charged. They get a lot of donations. And usually we see that the opposing party is able to make huge gains. And does it mean they're going to win the next presidential election? We don't know. But unfortunately, for Trump, if the Democrats win, the first thing they're going to do is impeach and continue to impeach, and then also impede things that he wants to do. And so even though right now he's not really having a House that is completely on his side, and I really do believe we do need checks and balances, he does have a lot of things he wants to get done. And, and some of these things I think are very, very important, like the border wall, like, getting that ballroom done. So at least there's a safe place for our delegates and our public officials to be. With what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner in this day and age? No, you can't have an active hotel with guests that are, you can't do that, especially with all the rhetoric and the attempts on the president's life. You got to have it on White House grounds and things like that. And, Congress has a say in all that. So all eyes right now are on Louisiana. That state has a congressional district map that was ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. The justices reshaped, they say, the landmark 1965 Voting Rights Act by ruling that race should not dictate the redrawing of legislative district maps. And so now Louisiana's map is unconstitutional. And so they have to immediately now reshape it. Well, Louisiana has a GOP-controlled state legislature. So they are now redrawing the map. And so that could also help Republicans. And so, I really don't like the idea of gerrymandering. When I saw what happened with Virginia, where you have rural voters, you have a lot of Republicans there that now are being told, sorry, your district's going to be blue. And, when their vote gets washed out, this is what has happened with California. In terms of, you have, probably 60-40 in terms of Republicans in California, and they don't get a vote. And same thing with Texas and Florida. You know, everybody should be able, that's why we have the congressional districts, so that you have a voice. But if the districts are, and it's interesting because I think on the whole, bipartisanly, nobody likes the idea of gerrymandering because I think they see that it could hurt both sides. It was interesting because the gerrymandering was very supported from the Democratic standpoint. The Democrats loved it until they found that they could be in trouble. And then they're like, well, we don't like it. Well, then we'll gerrymander also. And now it's this big gerrymandering war. And I think, you know, maybe what we need to do is relook at how we do our congressional districts. I understand it has to be population based. And I understand that's kind of difficult because you have some populations that might have more of one race than another. And you know, but maybe how you do it so it doesn't look like you're doing anything that's unconstitutional is, you know, base it on something more objective, like square footage or natural borders or, you know, something where, because right now what they're doing is they're salamandering it. That's how it's called, gerrymander. It looks like salamander shape where they're trying to capture something in the north to attach it to the south. And the districts are ridiculous. At least with Nevada, they represent a little bit more of the geography, but somebody could argue that it's not ideal. But you got the north, you got the south, you got different districts in the south. And so, you know, as I've always said, if you think you're on the side where it's not going to hurt you, it's just a matter of time where that is also going to hurt you as well. So if you don't think something's fair, we want to go for things being fair and being constitutional, because then it helps all of us. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. You know, we've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive this stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
We are back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So a Spanish woman who was on the same flight as a passenger who later died of Hantavirus is now being treated at a local hospital for a suspected infection. And I don't believe she was even on the cruise ship. This was somebody who was on the same flight as somebody else. The Spanish Health Ministry said in a Friday briefing that a 32-year-old woman was being treated in her home city of Alicante after the regional Valencian health authority contacted her through a Europe-wide health alert system. According to NBC News, the woman was sitting 2 rows behind the person who died from hantavirus, a person who tested positive, having had only brief contact as they were on board the plane for a short time. This is Secretary of State of Health Javier Padilla told a news conference. Now, Padilla said that others had been on the flight and developed potential symptoms of the virus, but later tested negative, including a Dutch flight attendant. This is a KLM flight. They say this is what happened with the flight attendant on the KLM flight, and we are confident that the same will happen here. The results from the Spanish patient's test should be ready, they say, in about 24 to 48 hours. The unidentified Dutch woman later died, whose husband died at sea aboard the Hondias cruise ship, which is right now the ground zero of this hantavirus outbreak. However, they feel what happened is this couple was doing some bird watching expedition. They get on the cruise ship. He dies, was removed from a flight from Johannesburg to Amsterdam. He died on the cruise ship, from what I understand. And then she got sent to Johannesburg and then, I believe, to Amsterdam. And she later died in the hospital. Earlier on Friday, today, the World Health Organization confirmed that the flight attendant who was not on the ship tested negative for the virus following testing at the hospital. If you remember, there was a flight attendant that we were concerned that, but now we have a passenger who now has suspected hantavirus. So they're examining her. So we're hoping that this patient also will be negative for hantavirus. The problem is for hantavirus, you're looking at fever, myalgias, fatigue. It could be similar to COVID. It could be similar to flu. So I know it's making everybody kind of nervous. A German national has also died in the outbreak. The World Health Organization says there have been 5 confirmed cases of the virus, 3 suspected cases, and now countries around the world are tracing and monitoring patients. In America, the patients, I believe we have 5 passengers who were on that cruise ship, are being observed and watched. The incubation period is 8 weeks, up to 8 weeks, which means if you were exposed, let's say April 4th, not until June 4th would people start to breathe easy. And so that's unfortunate that it has such a long incubation period. On Friday, British authorities, according to NBC News, confirmed a new suspected case on the tiny Atlantic island of Tristan da Cunha, one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth with about 220 residents. Why? Because that's where Hondias made its first scheduled stop on April 15th. So Stephen Dowdy, UK Minister for Overseas Tourism, wrote a letter to the Tristan da Cunha administration that the patient was an islander and that their spouse was isolating. They say 4 islanders hitched a lift with the Hondias to nearby St. Helena. And so the UK Health Security Agency confirmed that this patient was on board the Hondias and added that 2 additional British nationals have now been confirmed to have the virus. And, again, this is supposed to be a virus that usually you get from rat droppings, being exposed to rat pee, poop, saliva. So we're concerned. And if the World Health Organization does not think there were rat droppings on the cruise ship, then that leaves the other theory that this is the Andes strain, a strain that has potential respiratory and droplet transmission. And so right now, the working theory is this Dutch couple picked it up when they were bird watching and brought it to the ship. They say at least 7 Americans who were on the vessel are now isolated at home across 5 states. Nobody is showing symptoms of the virus. A State Department spokesperson on Friday told NBC News that the agency is arranging a flight home for the 17 Americans aboard the ship. And they say the Department of State is arranging a repatriation flight to support the safe return of American passengers on the ship in accordance with the CDC, HHS, and government of Spain. I know you're looking at all this going, oh my gosh, is this going to happen next time I go on a cruise? It shouldn't. But as I've said before, when you go on a cruise, it's much different than you traveling and renting a car or backpacking through Europe or taking a train. Of course, if you do get exposed, they might ask you, like we saw with Ebola, have you isolate, like the people who were working with Doctors Without Borders and working in West Africa. When they came back, they were asked to quarantine, etc. But with cruise ships, it's just a whole different. They assume you were exposed until you weren't, until you're out of the incubation period, and that's just how they have to, I guess, approach it to ensure epidemiological control of this. Hantavirus, again, is not supposed to be transmitted respiratorily, but if the Dutch couple that was dealing with birds was able to give it to other people on the cruise ship, we have to assume that there's more of there's another mode of transmission, such as aerosol or respiratory. So they say the Department of State is closely tracking the Hantavirus outbreak on the Dutch cruise ship in the Atlantic Ocean, maintaining close contact with the cruise ship staff, Americans on board, and U.S. international health authorities. They say the Trump administration has no higher priority than the safety and security of Americans. So the Spanish Health Ministry released its protocol plan today for disembarking the MV Hondias. The plan will require passengers and staff who were aboard the ship between April 1st and May 10th, or who had close contact with a confirmed case, to quarantine at a Madrid military hospital in Madrid under active monitoring. Passengers are going to get single rooms without visitors. During this period, they will undergo a PCR test upon arrival, and another 7 days later, active surveillance will also be conducted, including twice daily temperature checks to detect any compatible symptoms early. If a patient develops fever, shortness of breath, other relevant symptoms, they're going to be transferred to a negative pressure isolation room. If they test positive, the patient will be admitted to a high-level isolation and treatment unit until clinical recovery. What is killing people with hantavirus? Respiratory distress, if it does happen. So the cruise operator, Oceanwide Expeditions, says Friday that one of the people evacuated from the ship who had shown potential signs of hantavirus was actually the ship's doctor. So a World Health Organization investigation is underway. They're going to identify the source of the hantavirus outbreak and try to, we think we know, but it has to be confirmed. And the Hondias is now on a 3 to 4 day journey north from Cape Verde in Western Africa to the Canary Islands ahead of its planned docking on the island of Tenerife on Sunday. And that's where officials are going to evacuate and test the remaining passengers. The UK Health Agency said all British passengers are going to be asked to isolate for 45 days upon return to the UK, even though the incubation period, they say, can be up to 6 weeks. I read it could be up to 8 weeks. But they're going to allow it to be 45 days or 6 weeks. So now all the countries are saying, look, this is low risk to everybody else. We are not looking at COVID. I'm seeing articles saying people are having COVID PTSD because of this. I think what's causing any PTSD is the idea that you lose your rights immediately when it comes to infectious disease. And that's frightening. You could be on vacation and seeing parts of the world you want to see. And we encourage you to travel. We encourage you to see parts of the world. And cruise traveling is amazing. But when people see that their rights are going to be, and not only is it traumatizing thinking that you could lose your rights, but that the country doesn't want you. When your own country doesn't want you back, I mean, that's frightening. Now, it looks like Amsterdam, the Dutch are taking their residents back, and America obviously wants their Americans back, and all. But you see how these other countries are like, leave the ship at sea. Don't come here. Don't come here, and that is very frightening. Because who is advocating for you, and you have a cruise ship who might not have done the proper protocols, might not have explained to people that this could have been something. I mean, most cruises are not expecting hantavirus. They know how to deal with norovirus. They know how to deal with COVID, but they don't know how to deal with hantavirus. So hopefully nobody else gets sick. Hopefully this ends soon. But it sounds like at least people are soon going to get off the ship. The 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by financial fitness show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.